timer up there so we kind of know when it's going to kick off here. There we are. For those of you early birds who are already here, both either on Facebook or on YouTube, this is going to be a really fun class if you like building things from scratch. We're basically going to be taking a whole bunch of the stuff that I showed you on Monday and then showed more stuff on Tuesday, combining that all into a new tool we're going to build, or we're going to be using pods to do something that most people wouldn't even think pods would be used for. So I think today is going to be a lot of fun. And again, we are going to be focusing almost solely on pods. This is the pre-show. We haven't started yet. We'll start right at the top of the hour. And while we're going to be using mainly pods, everything we do today could also be done with Metabox in almost the same manner, using the same types of templating, using the same types of shortcodes. So we're going to use pods because I'm choosing to show you the 100% free option. Using Metabox does require you to have some of the add-ons to do what we're doing. So the benefit of me demonstrating what we're going to do today with pods is it's a free thing you can start doing right now. And I'm going to demonstrate it using the current released version of pods, so you don't have to wait for the beta version or the 2.8 big, huge release that's coming. All right, so we've got, a little over 2 minutes to go before we get started right at the top of the hour. I hope for those of you who are here early, you've enjoyed the free trainings that are going on. I have already done a full training on what we're going to do today with Metabox. That's in the WPStudio training library. But we'll talk more about that later, and we'll also talk about, hey, if you are interested in more trainings like these and tools that I built for you to better serve your clients, we'll talk about it at the end. I'm not a big upsell person, as you can probably tell from me using full open source GPL tools with no affiliate links. I just figure if the tool is good enough, if the plugin is good enough, it can stand on its own and it doesn't need an affiliate link. All right, a little over a minute to go. Little pre-show here. Depending on where you are tuning in from around the world, it is hot here in Washington, D.C. Very hot. I was going to broadcast from the boat, but oh my goodness, I'd be melting. So I've gone down to the studio so that I can sit in air conditioning while I broadcast for you. All right, we'll start right at the top of the hour. As we said, feel free to jump in on any of the chats, either on YouTube or Facebook. I should see those and should be able to respond if you have any questions. If for whatever reason you are unable to ask your question during these events yesterday, Monday, and today, you can always email me at benjamin@wpstudio.com. All right, we are going to kick it off here now that it is 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And let's get started with day 3 of our Pods and Metabox training. Okay, today, as I said in the pre-show, we are going to be diving in and taking things we looked at on Monday and Tuesday and combining it into a practical application. So, as I mentioned towards the end of yesterday's session, what we're going to do today is we are going to build a customer support portal, and we're going to only use pods. So because we're only using pods, we're not going to use Metabox today. This is a completely free solution. Now, just keep in mind, we are building this all from scratch. It's going to be very minimal styling. It's going to only cover or have 2 or 3 options. But hopefully, by me walking you through the development process step by step, you will be able to extend it and expand upon what we build today so that you can create a custom solution for your clients. All right. So because I love developing from scratch, we are going to be starting here with our dev site that we have been using all this week. And so we're going to come over here to our pods admin. And our first thing we want to do is we want to create a new custom post type, a new pod using the free pods plugin for WordPress. The reason why is we are going to support, or we're going to store all the support tickets our customers send us as a custom post type, so that we'll be able to access it here in the admin area. We can respond to it. We can do a whole bunch of stuff. So let's go ahead and first create a custom post type. We don't need a settings or taxonomy. And we will call this one our support ticket, because that's the singular and our support tickets is the plural. Our next step takes us here. Okay, so we immediately have a support ticket. And let's tweak a few items here. Now I'm going to go ahead, because I know I want a nice icon. I'm going to pull up the WordPress dash icons. If you don't know where to find that, you can either search Google for dash icon, or I'm going to put this in the chat that you can always jump on over to the dash icon over at WordPress. Oops, not that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump down here. I think I've got something that looks like a ticket. Here's a ticket. Let's just use that. And these are dash icons tickets. Okay, so let's go back to our pod area. We're going to come over here to our admin bar. There's our icon. We're just going to drop in our dash icon tickets. There's a few other things we need to do before we start adding fields. So we're going to come over here, and I am going to remove every one of the traditional WordPress custom post type supports. We're not going to use the regular editor or the title. We're going to make everything from scratch just using the fields. All right, so I've got my title here. Now, life is going to be, we're going to deal with this default status later, and I'll show you why. But I just wanted you to remember that when anybody submits or adds something to a support ticket, right now it defaults to draft status. Kind of like if we are using a regular post and we add new and we just save it, it's going to save as a draft. We're going to fix that in a little bit, but I just wanted you to know about that. Okay, everything else you can basically leave alone. If you want to spend the time at another time, you can come through here and edit all of these, labels, add some additional items. But let's save this pod so we know our dash icon comes in. Now we've got our support tickets over here. And for our solution that we are building today, we're going to have basically 3 fields. One of them, we need to somehow attach each support ticket to a user on our website. And then we need to have their ability to write their question or write their support request. And then we need a field where we can, as the site owner, we can respond to that. So let's start with the first, the first one. I know we're going to have we'll call this one our customer name. So we've got our customer name. Now, Pods has this really cool feature. We're going to use it, but we're not going to take full advantage of it. Pods has this ability of creating a relationship. So this field becomes a relationship and it references something else in the database. So I could reference other pods, simple lists, other post types that exist on the website. I can come through all these things, but I can even get into WordPress objects. And great question, Julio. I believe that's how I say your name. You asked about catching yesterday's session. You will be able to follow along even if you missed Monday and Tuesday, because we're doing this step by step. I'm not going to reference anything we talked about yesterday, but for those of you who did attend Monday and Tuesday, some of it will be a little bit of repetition as you see it in action. Okay. So we're going to come over here in terms of users, because I am now going to make this field a relationship to another user. Now we're going to tweak this a bit, but for now, I'm going to come over to my additional field options, and let's just, rather than we only want one user attached to this, I'll use an autocomplete. You'll see what that means here in just a moment. So let's save that field. And then let's come over here and we're going to create another field for, we'll call this one our support question. And in this, let's give our customer the ability to actually, mark up their thing, maybe embed an image, bold things, copy paste information. So save that, and then we need one more field, and this will be our support response. And we'll do the same thing, but the support response is mainly going to be for us and as the site owner, and we're going to save that field. Okay, so let me just quick save this pod, and let's look at it from the back end before we go on the front end. So here's our support ticket. When we want to add a support ticket, look, here we have our support question area and our support response. And we have our customer name where basically will autocomplete if we start typing. Bob Robertson was a user or not. Okay, so let's come back over here. That's the back end of the site. And remember how yesterday we briefly talked about the pods forms. So we're going to do the same type of thing, but again, we're going to do a slight refresher by going and looking at our pods. We're going to edit the pods, see how this says support tickets. So this is the name of the pod we're going to use. So now we're going to just go use a regular WordPress page. We're going to create a new page, and this one we will call we use the standard editor. We will call this one our support portal, because we're going to do a lot with this support portal. Now, as I showed you yesterday, we're going to use a shortcode, and that's where we have the shortcode pods. And so we need to put some arguments in this pods shortcode. Now, if you are using the classic editor, your life is so much easier because you can simply use the pods shortcode creator in the classic editor. If you want to use the shortcode creator, or basically the pods direct interaction, you have to, in Gutenberg, or in the block editor, you have to wait for pods 2.8. That has it all integrated. But for now, we're just going to use the shortcode, and I'm going to walk you through the different arguments you need. So first thing, we need to put the name, and that's going to be the name of the pod. So that's support ticket. That's why I did that little copy paste over there. Then we need to say form equals 1. So we are going to use the pods shortcode, and it's going to be a front end form. So let's leave it at that. We're going to fix something in just a moment. Let's publish this, and we're going to go view our new support portal. And look, we run into the exact same thing we talked about yesterday, where it's going to dump every single option, field, everything out there waiting for the public. So we need to fix this so that the only things showing up here are the fields we want to show up. So let's come over here and we're going to add another argument to the shortcode. And that is going to be the argument fields equals. And then in these quotes, we are going to put the name of the fields. And so let's take a quick jump down memory lane, go to pods so we know exactly which our fields are, edit our pod here. Here's our fields. So basically, we need customer name and support question. So let's start with our support question. Come over here, add support question. Then I could put a comma, and let's grab the customer name. Now, let's update this. Notice how I've only put 2 fields in there. If I update this and we go back over to our support portal page, awesome. Now we have our support question and our customer name. But if we're building a support portal for our own users or for our clients, the user is already logged in. Why does the user have to enter their name? And I don't want them seeing all the different users that exist on the website. I'm going to take you down the power of pods here, because let's go back over here to our customer name. Now, in the advanced section, there is an ability to add a default value. And there are numerous pods magic tags, the things I showed you in the pods template yesterday, the ways for us to identify different fields that exist in the database. And one of them, because pods works with the user account, we can grab basically the ID of the user. And if I update this, let's save this pod, update this, and I refresh on our portal, it has automatically given me and pre-filled in this customer name for who's logged in. Oh, but look, because this is a relationship field, it is giving me the ability to override this. Now, this might be something you do want, the ability for you to replace the customer name or assign the ticket to another user or something like that, depending on how you develop the whole system that we are working on today. You could do that. But what I'm going to do is go one step further. Let's go back to our customer name. And in the additional field options, I have the ability to basically limit the list of the roles. So I could just say, oh, only give them the list of subscribers. Or I could customize that query where basically the query is pulling out the relationship to all the users on the site. I only have 2 users on this test site. But I could put a where statement. So that's basically when we are writing a query into the database, we're filtering the results based on something. So in my where statement, I could simply just say the ID equals user ID. So basically, the ID of the where, whatever I'm going to be returning for those role users, I'm only going to return the option of the person who's logged in. So if I update this and save the pod, come back to my support portal, and I refresh, all of a sudden, oh, 1 second. Let's go back. Get rid of the spaces. Or I hope I didn't mess it up. All right, let's refresh this. Oh, I did mess it up. Hold on. Okay. Okay, there's a different way of doing this. Okay, let's take our different way. This is what happens when we do live training. Okay, let's get rid of our where statement that kind of broke. I can figure out what, I'm not sure why it broke. All right, well, we'll deal with something else. So here's what we're going to do. We have, let me update this field so it removes the where statement. We already have this item. It's a relationship. We've already set a default. So basically our user is already going to be filled in. So let's just hide this. We don't need them to see it. Why? Because it's already going to be filled in. Because we have set the default value. The only people who will be able to see this support ticket are people who are already logged in. And because they're already logged in, this field is going to default to their username. I hope that makes sense. All right. So let's update that field and save the pod. All right. So I've got my support question. The thing is gone. Let's ask our question. Hey, did you know that I haven't paid my bill in ages? You know, that's our typical support with web development. All right, so save the changes. Great. All right, form has been submitted successfully. Now let's go take a look at this. And I'm about ready to maybe blow your minds. Because, let me set the stage. In our support ticket, we removed all things like the title and the editor, which means when I go look at all support tickets, there's no title. I do have a date here, but this is basically pointless, this listing of all support tickets, because I don't get to see the question, to see whether or not the question has been answered. So there is a really cool thing in WordPress. You do not need to go, and again, because it's in WordPress, you can use it on Pods. Because it's in WordPress, you can use it on Metabox, but Metabox has a built-in way of changing this whole area. But what I'm about ready to show you proves that you do not need to have these extra plugins like admin columns or these other big robust plugins that allow you to change the back end of WordPress. You can do it with a few hooks that exist in WordPress. All right, so what we're going to do here is I've come over here to the functions.php of our active theme, and I'm going to introduce you to one, the filter, and one, the action. If you've never dealt with WordPress hooks or filters, just think of hooks as drawers in your house that are simply waiting for us to put things in it. So we can put different functions, different information into different drawers in your house. Filters are basically a pre-done strainer, where we drain spaghetti, where we get our water through it. Well, let's say instead of water straining through for our macaroni, we wanted to change our macaroni to a red food coloring. So we're going to now add a red food coloring to the strainer so that the macaroni comes. I have no idea why you do that or why that even came to my mind. Okay, that's kind of weird. But a filter is just like that. We are going to take the content and send it through a filter, which may modify it. So this section up here, we can filter what will show up in these admin columns. So we're going to start with a filter. Add a filter. If you've never done add filters or add actions with WordPress, basically you just need the name of the hook that we're going to use to either add action or to add a filter. And then you need the name of your function. So there's just two parts of this. The first part is actually something that's kind of cool with Pods. So we do manage, and I'm just going to put X's because we're going to fix that in just a moment. Posts, columns, that's the name. Now, this X is going to be the name of your custom post type or the name of your pod. So let's just jump over. I'm going to open up another tab here, just so you know, support ticket. So since we know it's called support ticket, I can replace this XXX with support ticket. And now that is a specific filter for the post column only on the support ticket page in the admin area. It's not going to affect the post. It's not going to affect your listing of pages. It's not going to affect something that you do with WooCommerce or something else. It's only going to affect that. All right, so now we're going to just set, you can name this anything you want. Edit, support, tickets, ticket columns. I normally tend to write my functions in clear and direct words so that if ever I go back and look at my code, I know what that function's doing. So I could do that. I mean, I could also do muffins are awesome. The name of your function doesn't matter. It just, once we name our function, we need to declare our function in PHP, and we're going to pass our columns into the function. So just as if you've never done PHP, I view PHP as a regular language that can be translated in and out of English. So therefore, anytime you set your function name and you're going to declare what exists or what that function does here inside these brackets, that's all, basically it's on an island. I can't use anything anywhere else that's maybe declared in PHP, in WordPress, in different places, unless I pass it through this window or I give it a plane ride to the island of this function. So I'm passing in columns. This is a variable object that exists and has been defined somewhere else in WordPress, columns. But by passing it through, now I can do something in this function with columns. So let's do the first thing, and that is unset columns title. And we're going to take a look at each one of these. Now, the other thing that I tell a lot of WPStudio members when we get into some of these deeper coding concepts, anytime you pass something into a function and you know you're doing something with that, make sure you just return it. And sometimes you can prevent just some weird errors because you forgot to return that item out. So I'm going to do this. Let's save this. So all of a sudden, we have now filtered. And if I go back to here, we refresh. Oh, look, the title is now gone. We're left with the date. You know what? I don't want the date either. So let's go ahead and unset that one. Unset columns date. And how about let's add one of our columns that we are using for this, support ticket. So this time, rather than an unset a column, we're going to declare a columns, and we're going to let's support question. If I spell it correctly, that helps. And then we need to, provide just the actual label that will go with that, support question. All right. Now let's save this function, head back over to our support tickets, refresh, and all of a sudden now it's going to do support question. Well, as I said earlier, we want to also have the ability for us to, in real time or in a quick succession, if I were the site owner, I could come here to my support tickets and see the question, and I can actually see if there's an answer. So let's add another column for our answer. Now I need to remember what we called that. Well, I think we called it support response. So I'm going to copy and paste that, and let's go ahead and add that column. And we'll just add our little label, and I will just call this one our response. All right, let's save this. And come back over here, and we will see our response. Perfect. We are now set up. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, didn't we just a few minutes ago actually submit a support request ticket? We did. It's not showing up yet. Well, basically it is showing up here, but it's simply by filtering the labels, we're not actually changing how WordPress generates this table. So we need to get the content. So this time, rather than filtering, we are going to hook in. Because remember when I said a hook, an action hook in WordPress is just like a drawer that's somewhere in your house waiting for us to add content. We need to add content to, it's going to look very similar, manage, and then we put the name, and I'll just do the X for this one. We'll go back and fix it. Posts, custom, column. So it's support ticket. That's what we want. That is the custom post type we are working with. And then we need the name of our function. And this one will be our custom support ticket column. That's what we'll name it. And then I'm going to put some priority so that it shows up basically after the filter occurs. So let's do a function. We're copying and pasting that one out. And the same way we had to pass the column into here, I also need to pass the post ID, because each post in WordPress, each submission, each piece of data that is stored in the database has a post ID. And we just need that so we can pull that out. If you have not dug deep into PHP, bear with me. We'll be done with this little stuff in just 2 or 3 minutes, but I need to use a switch because I have to, rather than reproducing like this, rather than going this line, this line, this line, and then doing it over and over again, I'll use a switch so that I can just process the columns once. So each case will be our support question. And there we are going to just echo out. Now, in WordPress, custom fields that are attached to a custom post type are a form of post meta. That's the data that's being saved. So we can use a get post meta to basically fetch out that field that was the support question, and we're going to use that same get post meta to fetch out the response out of the database. And then we're going to identify it based on the post ID so that each post has its own ID, support, question, and then true. So basically when we do get post meta, we want to yes, echo that out. Now we're breaking, do the other one, which was the support response. It's going to look exactly the same. We're almost done. Post meta, add the post ID, support response. Where am I getting those? Remember, these are the IDs of the fields. And then we're going to break this one. Okay, so when I save this and we go back over to our support tickets, it will now fill in. Remember, here's what we wrote. Hey, did you know that I haven't paid my bill in ages? All right. And since there's no response next to it, we know that, hey, we need to go respond to this. Now, remember when I hid, if we just update this so I can get the quick link. We hid the name of the user just because we're already filling that in. And when I edit this, it's also hidden here. So there's a number of things we can do with this for the purpose of today, so you can see that there's actually another field in here, but it's been hidden. I'm going to go back over here to our, let's edit our pod. I'm going to just make this visible just for today's example so that we can keep track of it and you can see it without, I mean, it's there and you can use it, but this way you can actually see it. All right. So let me refresh on this. And here's our customer name. Not sure why that didn't fill out. All right, we'll get back to that in just a moment. Okay, so we've got our support ticket. Again, we don't have to show who it's from. We're just looking for the question and the response. Now let's go back over to our portal page. Well, this is all fine and dandy that we've got our little support questions and, hey, can you show me all of my past support questions? Let's save that and form submitted. Now let's come back over here to our support tickets. Now, one of the things to know is take a look at this. Quick edit. Okay, it is published. It is published. So you just want to make sure that it is going to be published for the process we're doing. It's entirely possible that you may have to adjust the default status to the form to make sure, because I'm going to show you why. Because we're going to open up this portal to our other user on this website, which is just a regular subscriber. So my administrator has the rights to publish. My subscriber doesn't. So I will need to change the default for this support ticket. And you'll see this in just a moment. All right. So we do have a question here. Hey, can you show me my past support questions? Absolutely. Pods can do that. But in order for us to go down that road, we need to create a template. Because on the back end, we haven't had to, we used actual code to pull the data out to show it in the admin columns. But on the front end, we need to use a template. And let's call this one our support recap. So we're going to use a few of the things that we learned yesterday. We'll use our support tickets to grab all the pod references to all the fields. And I'm going to do something very simple. Now, when you build this for yourself, you can make them in tables and some complex grid CSS. You know, as we love grid CSS here at WPStudio. But I'm just going to use an unordered list. It'll make it super simple, and hopefully everybody can derive and extract how you can build it yourself. So we're going to start off by using the before and after tags. So basically, before the loop, we're going to have a before tag, and then an after the loop, we will close the unordered list. This will allow us to basically just use list items for every one of the support questions. So I would do something like list item, and then we'll just grab our support question. Close the list item. So that would be the question showing up. But remember, we have a section for responses. So wouldn't it be nice if we can write underneath their support question, once we have written a response for them, they can see the response. But I don't want to put a response answer if one hasn't been filled out yet. So I'm going to use the if statement, if, and I think, let me just go check over here. Support response is the name of the field we're looking for. If support response, and we don't have to do anything other than saying that if statement, because that's just asking the question if the value exists or if that field has been filled out. I'm just going to go ahead and do another unordered list, add a list item, and add the support, not questions, response. Close that out, close the unordered list, and then we're going to close out the if statement. Oops, if. Okay, so this is what we've done for our support recap. Something very simple, but hopefully this gives you ideas on what you could do. Okay, so now let's go back over to our page. This is our support portal page. I am going to put a little, let's do like a headline or header. Why? Because I'm going to put something like past support requests. And then underneath this, we'll use the same shortcode, but we'll do something slightly different. We'll use the same pods shortcode. So pods, the name is going to be the name of the pod or the name of the custom post type, which is the support ticket. And instead of doing a form, we're now going to say template equals support. Oh, now I forgot what the template was. Let's go take a look at what the template is. Oh, support recap. That was easy enough. Template is support recap. Now, let's just do this. We're going to come back to this and modify this shortcode as well. All right, save this, update this, make sure I updated, and go to our support portal. Let's refresh this support portal, and oh, look, here is our past support requests that have been assigned to that user. Now, let me show you something else that happens. If you don't know about this tool, you're missing out. I use this a lot, especially when you're doing development with clients. It is a user switching. There's a number of plugins that will do it. I use user switching a lot. That it allows me to be here logged in, and I can switch to Bob. And again, now I'm just a subscriber. And when I refresh any of the other logged in areas, we're still logged in as Bob. Now look, Bob is now seeing somebody else's support request. We're in trouble. We need a way to restrict that. All right. Well, in this, before I do anything, let me actually switch back, because if I try and do something, it'll say I don't have permissions. All right, we're switching back. Perfect. Okay. So now I can use a where statement. Where, and this is going to be, remember that hidden field is the customer name. Customer name. Basically, it's the ID of that, because it's the relationship field is not storing anything other than the ID. So like the nice name, the first name, the last name, all the things that are associated with your user profile, they're all derived from that ID number of your user. And so I'm going to say user ID, and that will refer to who's logged in. Now, when I update this and I jump back over to my portal, yes, I will see something, but it's not actually going to be working yet because there is a requirement. In your WP config file, now you might already have this in there, Pods might already have this, but Pods by default does not evaluate anything in a Pods shortcode. We have to turn that on. So my where statement, where we were only limiting the tickets, isn't going to work because that's requiring the evaluation of content. So I'm going to do a define. And again, you can find this in the Pods documentation. They talk about Pods shortcode, allow, evaluate, tags. So we're just now defining that this will work. So the reason why this is important, let's now go to our, go back to our user. Let's go back to our users. And we're going to switch back to Bob. And hopefully, okay, this is another thing. I actually figured I should have thought about this. Okay, what happened? Oh, Bob can't, hold on. Bob can't see that. So that's why there's the error. All right. See, pay my bills is not attached to anybody. So I need to now save this and attach it to, actually, let's attach it to Bob. So now Bob is attached to the, hey, have you not paid my bills? And if we go take a look at the other support ticket, can you show me all my past support questions, is attached to Benjamin. So now when we come back to our portal, refresh. Oh, this is draft. That's why. There we are. For some reason, yes, that was the thing I was talking about earlier when the post type was defaulting to draft. We just had to make sure that it was published. So now we can come back to our support portal and we can see our items. All right. So with all of this, we can go through and use a pod's name, the shortcode, to put a ticket on the front end and have a listing of the tickets that they used. Did we call that? Do we call that customer name? 1 second. Let me go back to my pod. I just want to make sure I'm using the right. Yeah, customer name. Yep. Good. So we now have a support ticket system where I can look at this and, hey, I need to respond. So, hey, can you show me all the support questions? Yes, I can. The shortcode can do it all. Boom. So I have my response. I can come back over to my listing of support tickets. Now I can see the response that, oh, haven't paid my bill. Okay, let's edit this and let's respond to our client. Well, you better, or else. Update. So now, going back over to our support portal, they can see the answers that we did. Again, this is something very simple, very, non-technical, but this hopefully should give you ideas in which using the pod shortcode in different places, you can use those in your page builders, in your in Gutenberg, in the classic editor. The idea of being able to rewrite the support ticket admin columns, using a template to choose how to show information, and then using default information to automatically assign a post or a submission to a specific user. And so now we have the capability of, here's a starting scratch thing. It may not be a support ticket system that you may need to build. Well, what about, as we did a training back in May at WPStudio, where I showed you using Metabox how you could collect signatures and then publicly automatically publish those signatures on a list if they chose to check the box that, yes, I want my signature on this petition. Or we looked at, it's for those of you who are members, you can just go into the WPStudio library. How do they build that client submissions? So a nonprofit keeping an up-to-date public list of donors coming to a special banquet. So we built that. We built a public signature list of people signing up to sponsor something, all with Metabox. Same way that I just showed you how you can do that type of stuff here with a support portal, not only adding front end. And the best part about it is it's on the front end of your WordPress website so that you can use the tools that you are used to using in your theme, in your page builder, into whatever, to style the solution for a client. They don't have to go back here. This can simply just be you on the back end, managing the responses and the questions. And again, this is a simple idea, lots of flaws. If you need a full-blown support ticket system, there are plenty of plugins out there that can do it. But hopefully this gives you ideas of what you could do with pods that is not just a traditional custom post type extender. Well, I hope you've had fun the past few days looking at Pods and Metabox, enjoying these free trainings. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these free trainings coming up, but I want you guys to make sure that you know about them. And so definitely head on over to WPStudio and sign up right there on the bottom of the page. I'm not upselling anything right now because right now the membership is not open. But when I do open up the training membership, not only do you gain access to all live training events we do, there is a massive video library. There's the ability to bookmark, save your webinars as training sessions that you're working through, tools, lots of plugins and themes that I've developed that are all part of the membership. But definitely, if you've enjoyed these training and my style of live training, definitely sign up to be on notice for things that are coming up. And that includes upcoming week-long WordPress developer courses that I've been teaching for the past 15 years. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the Wednesday. For those of you who are members of WPStudio, I will see you tomorrow on our premium webinar that you can get on the training membership. So take care, have a great rest of the day, and have fun playing around with pods and what you can do with it. And again, as I said during the pre-show, and I'll put this out here, if you guys have any questions about WordPress pods, training ideas that you really wish somebody would cover, shoot me an email at benjamin@wpstudio.com. Take care. Have a great rest of the day and enjoy the last